Hello and welcome to Get Rich Slow, the podcast that challenges the conventional get-rich-quick ideology and instead explores what authentic success really means and how you can achieve it. I'm Hannah Martin, founder of Talent Ladies Club, and today I am joined by Katie Moritz, founder of Joy Factory and an expert on sustainable branding and marketing, for an episode on ethical marketing. Hi Katie, how are you?
Hi Hannah, I'm good, thank you.
I'm pleased.
Very well.
It's so lovely to have you on here. I know how much energy you have and how much knowledge you have. Before we get into questions about ethical marketing, I just would like to know what success personally means to you.
Oh, wow. I would have answered that differently a year ago, actually, but because I think there's a lot, we're just sold this from like a very early age, aren't we? By the way, feel free to come in and talk to me because otherwise I'll just talk for too long, probably. But yeah, I think we're sort of taught this, aren't we, like at school, that about from the minute we're born, like grades and everything, and there's this whole kind of pressure about success. But I've been really interested in the last year or so looking at etymology, like the meaning of words, and just challenging all these words we use without thinking. And I think success, I don't know, it can mean lots of things, but I think for me, where I've got to now, it's something around what you said about sustainable, but also just like being fruitful and helping people. And like my mission in Joy Factory is to bring people joy at work and freedom in life. So if I've managed to do that with my clients, which is often what they say at the end of it, I've really enjoyed doing my branding, I really enjoyed doing my marketing, I thought I'd hate it. So I think that's it for me. And also just staying well, really. I think that would I say success. Also being able to earn enough money to take my family on holiday, and growing and learning. I don't know. What does it mean to you, Hannah? I don't know.
Yeah. Funnily enough,
loaded words.
Most of our guests say similar. And for me, it's the same. It's earning enough money to do the things that are important to me, and to have time freedom, time to spend with the people I love and like, and times to do the things I enjoy, and to feel fulfilled. I think as well, it's really important for me that I do something that isn't just about earning money, isn't just about turning up and spending time, but actually challenges me and makes the world a better place. So yeah, and actually, funnily enough, most people have a very, it's interesting, most people come up with a fairly similar version of that same idea. But let's talk today about ethical marketing. So I know this is something that's really important to you, but what does that actually mean to you, the term ethical marketing?
Well, I can't really answer this without saying a little bit about the course I'm doing, but I won't go into much detail because that probably isn't appropriate. But I'm doing a diploma on pioneer ministry, which is a different way of sort of sharing Christianity with people, and it's very forward thinking. We've done a lot of interesting modules. So one of the modules was on ethics, and I have been trying to pick subjects that sort of something I'm interested in, I suppose. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do something on ethical marketing, because I've always been different my whole life, pretty much from the moment I was born, just seemed to stand out and sort of try and work with that. So I think already the way I do business was quite different, but I thought, right, how can I dig into this? Because we'd learned all about ethics and all about the different models of ethics, which I didn't know all about. So I thought, well, let's look into this. And yeah, I guess I went down this journey of just thinking about like marketing. What is marketing? And it comes from being in the marketplace, doesn't it? And I don't know about you, but I hate the word marketeer. It's just, that's just me. But so I think ethical marketing, like the marketplace, was the place to sort of share ideas and have morality. And, you know, we all go to the market. And I think ethical marketing is imagining yourself in your market stall, selling people things. That to me is ethical marketing. And, you know, what do you expect when you go around the shops or you go to the supermarket? It's about saying what you have and where it came from and why it's the way that it is, and just being nice. And I think so much marketing is so kind of contrived and thought through, and it's got so many kind of overtones of everything else, of power and capitalism and whatever. If you take it right back to its basics, it's like, just be that favorite person who sells you bananas on the market. You know, you go back and get your favorite cheese or whatever, and there's a reason. Like, I have my favorite shops. Usually I like the lady who works in the shop. Yeah.
So do you think there's quite a few things there? And obviously we can all have slightly different ethics. You talked about Christianity, and there are people within Christianity, there are ethics that are unique to Christianity. Other people may have different ones. But I think there are some, I don't know if you agree, some common elements to ethics. You talked about openness and honesty, transparency, and you also talked about niceness. Do you think that there are common elements that if you are going to be ethical, irrespective of what you personally may have belief-wise elsewhere, are those sort of fundamental to ethical marketing or ethical anything? Is those things? Is that true?
I'm annoyed I use the word nice. I don't really like the word nice. And one of these words doesn't really mean anything, does it? Nice biscuits are horrible. Good is a better word. And I think I would say that authenticity is really important. And if I hadn't said anything about my course, that would not be me being authentic. So I think that that's very important. But I think it's about common good, isn't it? And like, you know, that whole thing that's talked about in Parliament about the common good. And I think ethics is about that. And it comes back to that very fundamental thing that we're all just human beings and deserve to be treated the same. And I think that's the most important thing, just treat people like humans. And I think social media in particular, all of these platforms and, you know, pyramid schemes, whatever, creates all of these like scaffolding that's just unnecessary. And people want to make money and they just forget people in it, I think.
So do you think that there's another element of inequality there that comes in as well? So an equal exchange where I fairly say, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I'm going to provide, and this is the money I want for it, then both parties feel they've got fairness, that I've got the money I need and you've got the product or service that you want. So then also, so it needs to be openness and honesty, but then it also needs to be an equality of fairness in there as well, doesn't there?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like a lot of people use, you know, we're motivated by fear or desire. I think a lot of marketing is tapping into fear, and I will not be part of that because it's just wrong. It really upsets me that not only in marketing but in social media platforms, they're tapping into really primeval things and they're sort of playing tricks with us, making us puppets. That's my train of thought. Anyway, ask me a question.
Okay. So what do you think are some of the biggest problems we see today around ethical marketing? Like things that people are doing in marketing specifically, and I would include social media on that, though you don't think are ethical.
Yeah, I think people talk a lot, don't they? They just tell you what they have, and you know, that's not how it works in real life. You have an exchange. Like I always say, you know, you wouldn't go to a party and just talk at someone, just stand up and say, here's my t-shirt, isn't it amazing, da, 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 da. And I think people are way too focused on themselves, and actually, you know, good marketing, good selling is thinking about the person who wants to buy something and thinking about what they need. And I think there's so much kind of manipulation and people thinking about their own desires and their own wanting to get ahead and their own wanting this car, whatever, and they forget their customer, particularly the further away they get from their customer, what they actually need. And I personally have come to this, another thing about ethical marketing is I want to stop at the end of the day. I stop at 5 o'clock. I treat myself, I have this analogy of like, I've got a market garden and I want to help cultivate. Like, I hate the word. Do I hate it? Maybe I do. Influencer. Like, people sometimes say I've got influence, and I looked up the etymology, and it means it's a power thing about like pushing people over, and I don't really like that. But cultivation is much nicer. So I kind of imagine that I have a market garden, and it's not about big, like unethical is too big, isn't it? And people are getting screwed over somewhere at the end of the line, either the planet or people's mental health. So yeah, I think I stop at the end of the day, like someone cultivating a market garden would, and I would say to my clients, and in my own marketing, I'm not going to put any message in front of anyone after the end of the working day. We're meant to rest. We're meant to just chill. And like, marketing goes on throughout the day, all the time, just constantly things pinging at you. And I'm just really hacked off at Instagram. They've just changed the whole look of it, so it looks like TikTok, and it's just not relaxing anymore. And I think businesses are thinking of their own aims rather than their own customers and why they started doing it in the first place. Like, they must have a mission statement, but they, you know, greed and growth and everything can just kind of make you forget. Do you know what I mean?
So So part of ethics is bearing in mind the people that you want to serve, like, you know, physically kind of serving, like almost like a shop, but obviously, but serving as in you're providing something that they need. I want to touch on a couple of things you talked about, so social media and manipulation and power. And there's something I see quite a lot of, which I personally don't think is terribly ethical. It's the cultivation of almost the cult of personality, where people use social media to almost dupe people by presenting a persona that people then like, that know, like, trust factor. They feel they get to know this person, which is very easy on social media because people are literally coming into your homes. You might do a FaceTime from bed or an Instagram live from bed, you know, they're literally coming to your bedroom, and the very heart of it. And there's this feeling, this perception of intimacy that is actually quite false, because people are showing you, even if they're in their pajamas and in bed and showing a very exposing moment or exposing emotion, that's still contrived. And that actually social media opens up the ability to misuse power and to manipulate people, because they believe that there's a relationship there with that's an individual person or a brand, but they believe in they're getting close to something and they're knowing it, and their barriers go down, and they're more open to potentially making decisions that might not be right for them. Is that something that you see or agree with?
I'm just trying to think. I think people buy into people, don't they? It's this whole thing about influencers, but actually influencers, I wrote this in my essay, actually, I don't know if it made the cut, but just like Molly May, she's sort of in a pyramid scheme, like influencers, and they think they're in control, but actually they're not. It's the people at the top of the pile that are sort of manipulating them. But I think, yeah, and there's the whole thing about toxic positivity, isn't there? Like, okay, we mustn't have stick thin models, but then you can have body positivity and and it's like, even if people are sharing things, they're still thinking about it. So you've got like real life and Instagram life, but it's still, I don't know. And then you start to sort of question it and think, well, why am I posting this anyway? It's just, the whole thing's just bizarre in some ways.
It's a really with the whole influencer marketing, it's a really strange thing, because like, I had something the other day that there's someone I follow on social media, on Instagram, and I think this person appears to be, I think genuinely, she's nice. She's not a well-known influencer. She doesn't have a huge, you know, she's, I'd say, a micro-influencer. And she was promoting some yoga leggings, and there was this discount. And I thought, oh, that's, you know, I do yoga. And I thought they look really nice on her because she's got a great body. So I looked at it, and there was a huge discount. And I was about to buy, and I thought, and I did this thing, and I'm so glad I stopped, because I was almost, even, I'm the kind of person that researches everything before I do a purchase, but I was about to buy that purchase because she, you know, like I follow her, and I thought I'll just look up a Trustpilot. And then I read the reviews on Trustpilot and didn't buy, because they had terrible reviews on there, really bad customer service and not great products. Now, I'm sure this influencer probably has a great relationship with the brand. They probably, you know, they give her free product. She's open about that. And I don't think that she would deliberately mislead people. But through that trust that is coming through social media, by feeling that you know somebody, and I'm aware that I don't really know her, but by feeling like you're somehow have a glimpse into their life, and this is someone you trust, that you're going to make a purchase. And now, she probably hasn't not on Trustpilot, probably. She's probably not seen those reviews. She doesn't know. And she probably has a great relationship with the company. So there's a kind of a way that brand marketing is being done here, that actually is a company that they know that, because and they're commenting on some of these reviews on Trustpilot, so they know there's a problem, and they know people are saying this, and yet they're still going up via influencer. They're not telling influencers that. So I think there is a real kind of thing about abuse of power when people have influence, because that idea of trust, and marketing is being done in a weird way on social media, because if this brand was normally going to market, they'd be marketing to someone like me cold, and they've then got to do the normal logical messages as well as emotional. But with social media, it's done much more in emotion, because you trust them.
If it was a market, you'd have a bit of cheese. Like in what I offer people, you know, a free 60 minutes, whatever, because it's like a sample. Like it feels to me like a sample is quite an honest way of doing things, and that's what I'm trying to think about. Like, you know, if you buy some fudge in a market, you think, oh, that's really nice, I'm going to buy that fudge. And that feels fairer to me. But I think you're right. And in terms of me as a consumer, I know exactly what you mean. And I save things. So if I want to buy something, I have like a wish list, because not only is there that pressure of the influencer, there's also the way that social media has been designed. And I learned we talked about this, didn't we, about the fog model and the hook technique, that social media has been built in such a way to tap into our sort of primeval functioning. I learned that there's a thing about human beings, we like to finish something, and that's why infinite scroll is so dangerous. We think, right, I've got to get to the bottom now. And if you're like, you've been on there for 45 minutes, you've forgotten you're there, we're probably more likely to buy something, aren't we? Because we're tired. We've just seen all of these people with their perfect hair and whatever, and we're maybe more likely to buy it. But it's been designed in such a way, all the buttons and the layout and everything, and just the way it taps into psychology, that it's like we have an opportunity. There's a whole load of steps, and I can send a link or something like that. But you know, it's a researched method.
Okay. So what is fog and hooks? If you could just explain that, because obviously people won't know.
Let me, on my other screen, let me just get the article up so I can quote it properly. But basically, let me just get it up if I can find it.
Don't worry if you can't, because obviously, like dead air to people listening to this is pretty.
No, not. It's interesting, but it's basically like the whole thing about buttons online and stuff. It's literally like a sort of like a lizard kind of getting a fly. It's very, very primeval, and so social media has been set up in this way that you've got an opportunity, a thing, a response, and dopamine, and it's like a cycle that goes around and round and round. And dopamine is something most your listeners might know about, that it makes you want more. It's like when we win on a slot machine or whatever. And so social media has been designed like a slot machine. So if you think you're feeling feeling influenced by an influencer, or you've had a bad day, and you're also in this system that's set up to make you be there, and that it's all set up to what social media platforms want is our attention. That's the currency, and they want to keep us there by using these underhand tricks that are primeval to make us not leave, including, let's not forget, FOMO and all of this. And they just want us to stay there so they can serve us ads. But unfortunately, in that space, there's influencers, and I'm not exempt. Like, I love Charlotte Dawson, is one person. I just love her. I think she's brilliant. She's really funny. And she was promoting this mermaid hair wand, and I thought, I like her, and she had a video, and I thought, well, she does seem more authentic, and she writes her stuff herself, so that's something. But I did save it in my little collections on Instagram. I wasn't going to just buy it there and then, because I understand a bit about the psychology, having done some research into mindfulness. I understand the tricks, and anyone here listening who does marketing, read No Filter by Instagram, because that will tell you what Zuckerberg's motivations are, and like don't lean into his motivations, which are somewhat dubious. Basically world domination is what he says to his staff every night, apparently, according to this book, which is why I'm trying to find other platforms. And I think we all feel that, don't we? That I think there's a general feeling that people don't want to put all of their stock into social media because it's not safe.
So you talked about social media platforms like Instagram. Their agenda is obviously to keep you on there, because they want the more dwell time they have, the more likely you're going to consume content, but then you're going to consume their ads they're making revenue from. Mm-hmm. The advertisers obviously want you to buy products, and they know that influencers are a great way to market to you. Influencers obviously want to make money, so they need to sell things. So everyone's got their agenda. Everyone's trying to sell to you. So how can we break this cycle? I know you talked about coming off social media, but if someone wants to stay on Instagram, how can we use these platforms and not be seduced by it? How can we see what's happening and break out of it? You mentioned like that sort of like pausing, and that could be a great thing. Is by just literally not acting on that impulse in that moment to buy or whatever, and to kind of come back to it later. Are there other things that we can do?
Okay, well, this might be a bit controversial. I don't do scheduling. I feel like scheduling is a bit inauthentic. And I know that's easy for me to say. I'm just me doing my own little business. But I feel like, social media is social, and you wouldn't be in the market stall and just go, oh, wait a minute, or like leave it on your table with a whole load of information about your apples or whatever. You just wouldn't do that. It's like, it's taking a step back. I think another thing that helps me which might seem a bit left field, is like working out what your values are. So once a month I have a day off, once a quarter I have an overnight stay, and I review my values, because that's like my fight against Silicon Valley, because they're trying to manipulate me, and I'm going, no, I'm not having that. I know what my values are, I know what matters to me. My top value is like to stay well, because I have a hormone condition and I've had postpartum psychosis, blah, blah, blah. So that's my top priority. And so that always overlays everything. So that's why I don't do social media in the evening. I don't do any marketing or work in the evening. And that gives me, I know why I have those values, and it dictates how I use those platforms and helps me to not do things. So that's one thing. I turned all my notifications off. Oh, bliss. Because again, that's another thing. That's another very primeval thing. That little red dot with the 1 in it, or the 6 or the 7, makes us go into like flight or fight adrenaline response. Or if it's a like, it's dopamine. Oh, great, I want some more. I'm going to keep on like posting. What else can we do? I think, listen more. Just write. This also might be controversial, but I just write when I've got something to say. Like I don't profess to be on there every day, every week. I don't really have any great pattern. I just write something on LinkedIn or Instagram. I don't use Instagram anymore because I'm sick of the TikTok update. I write when I've got something to say, because I think when you try and whip up something to say, and I know that you're a great expert on SEO, so you might have something different to say, and I'm interested to hear that. But personally, that's what feels authentic to me. And also I have a child and I'm doing a diploma, so I don't have time.
And that's obviously as someone who's putting content out, but as a consumer of content. So the first thing is to pause. Like, so if you feel you're going to act on something, maybe give it the overnight test, and I know you're going to be pushed into acting now. But I think, often that's a marketing trick, because they know you might forget, you might think about it and realize it's not for you. But
10 people watching.
So pause and just and give yourself time to really think about it and come back to cold and research. If you're going to buy something, go and research that company. And I like what you said about, recognizing, what we need and what our values are as well. And even as a consumer as well, it's also not spending so much time on social media, not having notifications on. And one thing, but this is aside from this, but I mean, I think it's connected to this as well, because if you're not following certain kind of people, is that I obviously have social media accounts for my business, which I used to use, and now, because I don't do my social media, I set up an Instagram account that is, there's nothing on it. I mean, no one could ever find it or know who I am. And I only follow a handful of people who who make me feel good.
Definitely, that's what I'd say. Yeah, curate your feed and curate your news. Like, think about what you're consuming. And this is a really lo-fi tip, but I read it somewhere. I put my phone in a box. So when I go down from my desk, in the evening to be with my family, I've got a box which I stick my phone in, and I've cut little holes so I can charge it. Also, I'm just thinking lo-fi, I don't have my phone in the bedroom. I bought myself a Kindle Fire so I can read. So when I'm sat on the sofa, like I'm sure lots of your listeners are mums, those little moments that you have, especially with a baby. I used to just be on Instagram. I thought, no, I'm sick of this. And so I got a Fire. I don't know if you know the platform Pocket, but it's really good if you live in London, because it works without Wi-Fi. So when I get newsletters, rather than distracting myself, that's another one, distraction. Your inbox is full of stuff to distract you and to buy as well. So I will save them to Pocket, and then if I have a spare moment, I'll get my Kindle Fire out, which doesn't have any social media on it, and I'll read my articles. Having a nice chair, and that values thing about thinking like, what are your hobbies? What do you love to do? Like gardening or cooking, and like, remember, the social media is set up to make you want to come back when you're not on there, you're thinking about it, because they've set it up in that way. But actually it's lost time. It's consuming, like binge watching, but like reading or making something or our own hobbies, they give us life and give us energy. I think that's some really good tips there about, limiting the time we spend on it. And breaking that like almost addictive cycle where we're trained to kind of want to do it. And I think that there is something really liberating when you do break that. It literally is like coming off something. It is.
Yeah. I mean, I as time goes on, I like social media less and less, and use it less and less. But so as far as a business concerned, though, why why should business be ethical? Because let's face it, there are you can make in the short term lots more money by duping people, you know, and by selling things that aren't necessarily going to deliver what you say. So why should a business be ethical? What's the benefit to them?
Okay, well, I think the main thing is the the audience is coming up, Z Gen and millennials even, it will not wash, they will not stand for it. They'll just go somewhere else. And I think that generation don't really vote because they're really distrusting of authority. So they just take action. So they just won't engage with you. So I think, they talk about, don't they, having your purpose front and center and, showing who you really are, vulnerability. And aside from those two audiences, I think, thank God, the discussion about mental health and wellness, it's very much front and center. And so that audience also cares about authenticity and, integrity, and ethics. And, G20, and have I got that right? Yeah. Or is it 20? Oh, I can't. It is G20, isn't it?
I don't know.
As in the summit from last year.
Well, 21. Like, last year was 2021, but I don't know.
It's in our consensus. Even Prince William, talking about the environment, it's on the public's lips. And another thing about primeval things is that people want to be in the tribe. They want to be in the place so they don't get eaten by a lion. So if the main pull is to be more ethical, then businesses are going to join in. They're going to get left behind. If they don't change, they're going to get left behind. And people want to make money, unfortunately.
I think there's definitely, well, we do see that millennials and Gen Z are far more driven by not just by who they purchase from, but who they want to work for, ethics. Definitely. But I think in terms of ethical marketing specifically, about whether you are a sustainable business or not, I think it's really important to have honest marketing, and to not use trickery. And I think what you find is that it's very short-term thinking. Yes, you can dupe people today, but those people will start talking eventually. And like with the yoga leggings, they'll go on to Trustpilot, places like that, and then tell their truth, and someone will find it and not buy from you. But I think also that if you do, and I see this quite a lot with companies, once you go down, it's a bit of it's like a wedge. Once you start out being slightly unethical with your marketing, you then have to double down, because actually when someone starts kind of asking, well, actually, that's not what you said, the only way, either you give up and you say, yes, I lied, which you can't do because your business will die, then you have to then squash it and have to become ever more unethical in how you treat people who are speaking the truth. And you bully and abuse. I think I often see this happening with companies and with people, that once they go down that route, and then it doesn't, surely, I don't think how you can go to sleep at night knowing that the money you've made that day is off the back of people who were unhappy they spent that with you, would rather not have spent that with you, and that the only way that you can continue to sell is to silence those people. So I think, for me, I think unethical marketing is very short term, and I don't think you can build a long-term good business on it. And I think, and also you can't be happy running that business because that you're alive, and you have to bully people to silence.
And if you're MD, you might well have kids. How can you be a parent and run your business like that? I just wanted to share a little story. Went to this training thing a few years back, and it was 3, as in the mobile phone people, and they gave a talk about feelings and marketing, and they did a whole test, a big scientific test, and they said that the things that trigger these participants most to take action was fear, delight and surprise. I'm not going down the fear route. Lots of marketers do that. I'd say going for the delight and the surprise is the way to go, but so many people, if you go and look for it now, all of our marketing is fear, especially to mums. It's terrible. And it's just wrong. It really upsets me. So I'm never going to go down the fear route. It's just wrong. But it is more effective than the others, which is why people go for it. And urgency as well. But they're all really primeval. If you're a business owner, listening to this, you can learn about the psychology, and then you it's like going in the Matrix. I just call a lot of it the Emperor's New Clothes. It's just nonsense, actually. Especially women. We just do business together. that's what we do. Like, I sent you a happy birthday message for Talented Ladies Club, and we've made this connection, and it's just people. We don't need to try so hard. Yeah.
So what are your, if someone says to this as a final tip, if they would like to make sure that they are more ethical in how they approach their marketing, what's your advice for them?
Well, let me have a look at my little post-its, because I've got lots of answers for this question. But I'll tell you something I do, which is quite interesting, possibly quite controversial, and maybe I'm just lucky because it's just me, but I don't ever chase anyone, because I think, you know, if someone's ready to buy, and you know, a lot of people are sole traders, especially women, aren't they? I don't have time. I don't have time to chase up leads that aren't going to go anywhere. If someone takes your card or gets in touch and it's the right moment and they've got some money and they've got something in mind, I think they'll get in touch. And I just think all of this pestering is just wrong, really. I think depending on what your offering is, networking for me has always been the best thing. And actually talking to your customers. Another great tip I had from this guy from some big bank in London. It was for this mum's conference. Anyway, he said, you know, get the people who are your ideal customers, get them in a room, tell them your idea, and ask them what is good about it, what would they change, what would they add. He said those people will buy from you because you've listened to them and you've, you know, provided something that they need. So I think for me, a lot of it is listening, actually, which is very countercultural with marketing, isn't it? But I think, you know, there has to be a reason why a business owner is doing what they're doing. Try and find out why you're doing what you're doing, even if it was ages ago and you've long forgotten, and then find people who want that thing. Like, I describe it like an avocado, two sides of an avocado. You've got to find the other side of the avocado to find your ideal customer and really get to know that person. So I think, yeah, what else would I like to say? I think, yeah, just be different. You know, I think people can be, I hate stock photography. I just think there's so much that is just out there. You just scroll by, especially on social media. Like, don't be afraid to be different, because people remember it, you know, and be yourself and share your story. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So if people want to find you, where can they go?
Well, they can go on my on my website, which is called Joy Factory, which is joy and factory. And I may not be on Instagram by the time this goes out because I've had it, but I am on Twitter, and there's this new platform called Supernova, which is a new ethical social media platform, which is Katie J Moritz, so KATIE JMORITZ, and I'm on LinkedIn. And if you're in Portsmouth, come and knock on my door. I don't know.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Katie.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to talk about this stuff.